had this Gemma cardigan by I Am Lanka pinned on my Pinterest board for a while now, but I also had a reel recommended to me about 2 weeks ago, and that's when I really decided I wanted to try to make something similar. I hesitated on just buying the pattern and making this exact cardigan, but I was looking for something a bit less comfy, slouchy vibes and more form-fitting, elegant and work-appropriate, as that's where I am 5 days of the week, and if I want to wear my handmade clothes a lot, I just need to make them more work-appropriate. I could see on the pictures that the pattern uses a very basic cardigan structure that is worked up in rectangles, meaning the sleeves start off the shoulders. This is perfect for more baggy style, loose-fitting cardigans, but for my cardigan I wanted to create a sleeve starting on the top of the shoulder. So with all these adjustments in mind, I thought it would be just easier to try it first without using the pattern. I've never created a stitch pattern of this type though, so I just tried around with some different possibilities I could imagine to create this diamond effect. I started one evening while watching TV. I had just finished my last crochet project and wanted to mess around, try a few things with the yarn my boyfriend has bought me. And I created this test swatch. Here it is being modeled on my boyfriend, unbothered, who's just minding his own business, watching TV. Not really sure if the holes are too big. I just decided to call it a night. The next day I looked at it once more, this time on my own body. I was wearing a grey pullover and the combination of the two greys wasn't a great look, so I took off the sweater and held the swatch in front of my black top. I'm still really torn with regards to the holes. I find them really big, meaning you should always carefully think about the color you're going to wear underneath. On the other hand, the lacy design gives up a very cute light feeling, and if I made the holes smaller, you would still be able to see through it, and the holes would maybe look less intentional, more messy, and the drape would be much more sturdy and structured and less flowy and light. So I just decided to go for it. I have a vision being able to wear this both on top of another light sweater or on top of a tank top, depending on the weather. I started in the middle with the button band of the cardigan. I want to follow the neckline of this green sweater I own, which I think is really flattering. I tried on a few of my sweaters to decide which one I wanted to look like most. I added the test swatch next to the button band to better imagine the end result. This is how far I got the next evening. I'm really happy with how it's looking. I tried following the neckline exactly, but it was a lot steeper than I thought, so I deviated a bit. But I will make it up by going straight after this row to make sure the neckline is not too wide, because this green sweater already has quite a wide neckline opening. So as you can see, I fixed the neckline by going straight up here. And now I can just mindlessly crochet without decreases or increases for a short while. For the sleeves, I changed to another sweater of mine, this black one. I have to check in regularly working on this front portion when I have to start decreasing for the armhole. I really like the sleeves of this black sweater and I want to recreate the exact same ones while working in one piece. Here you can see the decreases I created for the armhole along the black sweater. I continued this until arriving at the side seam. I'm going to go up and down on this side seam and then start the sleeve, but first, very important, I'm going to check how this already sits on the body and if my calculations are correct. Looking good? After going up and down on the shoulder seam, it is now time to start the sleeve. I will follow the bottom side of the sleeve to determine the required length. I continued going up a few rows following the bottom side direction of the sleeve. At this point, I switched over to following the top side of the sleeve. This way, I also followed the grain of the fabric in the original black sweater. The black sweater is clearly a machine-made sweater based on slabs of fabric that have been sewed together. For this type of creations, the grain or thus the stripes of the fabric are straight on top of the sleeve, but to create a thinner sleeve at your wrists, they point the lines together at the bottom seam. During the weekend, I really tried to take in the autumn vibes and colors. I enjoyed crocheting in natural light since the sun has been going under much earlier this time of year. I even went on a walk in the forest nearby through the orange leaves. It was cold but soft. A sweater was sufficient, no jacket required. I brought a bag with me to hold the yarn, but I would recommend doing this with smaller projects. As I'm making this cardigan in one full piece, I had to carry the entire project around, which is not so easy when walking. I'd gotten so far that I was already working on the other half of the sleeve, giving it the same curve as the front part. The difficulty now was determining how wide I wanted my sleeve to be. I attempted to try it on as best as I could on top of my current turtleneck sweater. I really like the combination of the green and the grey. I thought my sleeve was still a bit too tight, so I was going to make it larger. However, I started doubting the length of the sleeve. It seems quite short. And also the neck might be way too wide because the shoulder part keeps falling off my shoulder. I wanted to try it also on the top to see how that looks, and the same doubts remain. But I could also conclude that creating larger sleeves would also be acceptable on top of a top without sleeves. So, putting the doubts aside, I continued working on the sleeve. You just gotta trust the process. After making it a bit larger, I connected the sleeve panel to create a tube. I started with a center pull in the yarn, and as always, the end of the skein just becomes this huge mess. I tried the sleeve on and the width was good. The sleeve still kept falling off my shoulder though. I decided that I should add the back first, and if this problem still remains, I will just start over. No one likes sleeves falling off your shoulders. This is how far I got using only one skein of 100 grams of yarn. I didn't realize when I started that this project would require so little yarn. Time to start the next skein. This was my test swatch skein, and after the mess of the center pull, I'm going to start this one on the outside. I'm so incredibly happy to announce that I won't have to start over again. I worked further down the back and it's now almost time to start decreasing for the armholes again. And now the shoulder isn't falling off anymore. It's still a very wide neckline. The shirt I was wearing really didn't fit as a shape, so I tucked it under my bra strap. It's still a bit of a doubt. I might add some alterations later, but right now I'm just really happy that I trusted the process. I got through my dip actually because I was quite stressed or uncertain about how it was working beforehand and if I had to redo it all from the beginning. But now that I'm seeing it on, I'm thinking this is definitely something you can just wear out like this. Well, definitely with the other side. I continued working on the decreases of the back. I'm making it symmetrical with regards to the other side. I still can't decide what I dislike more, the ending of a center pull or the continuous rolling and tugging on an outside start. This is what the skein was looking like and it was really bothering me. And here we have it, the complete back of the cardigan. One sleeve done, one sleeve to go. I worked on the sleeve in the couch, keeping the black sweater on the salon table for reference every 2 rows. Was listening to an audiobook at first and then I switched to watching TV. It starts to become quite heavy to turn the entire piece around every time you are switching rows. It's kind of the downside of working everything in one single piece. But it's also nice to already see it all come together while working it up. The stitch pattern at this point has become second nature. It's actually really easy and relatively fast because you're leaving so many empty spaces. So I feel you are making a lot less stitches than you normally would for the surface you are creating. The following evening was one with negative process. I had started on the second half of the sleeve, or thus the front part of the sleeve, but the counting was off. I don't know where I was with my head, but I had to frog the entire front part of the sleeve. I'm sure that this is going to lead to some severe knots. I rebuilt the sleeve correctly this time. While doing this, I was listening to my audiobook. I'm currently listening to Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. When I'm crocheting, I prefer not to sit still and quiet with only my thoughts. So I'm usually watching some movies or series, listening to an audiobook, or listening to music. If you have any recommendations for my next audiobook, I would love to hear it. At this point, I've caught up to the previous progress and finished the entire sleeve. All that is left is the front flap. I'm super excited to finish it and start wearing it. So, of course, I put it on too as soon as the sleeve was done. I really like the pattern and also the shape of the sleeves on top. It's not bulky at all. I still find the sleeves to be a bit too short, so I could block them out longer, but then the holes would also become larger. Another option I'm debating is to elongate the ribbing on the end of the sleeves and just add a few more stitches to make it longer. But all by all, I'm really proud of the shape of the sleeve. It feels really strange to miss the front flap. I keep trying to pull on it, but yeah, this is the cardigan in its current state. Time to add on the third skein. I went back to a center pull with this one as the previous one required a lot of tugging and rolling around, but the skein seemed to be resisting. And finally, there we go, it's the last straight line. This is how far I am, still have a bit more left to do on the front flap, and I also want to add a border on the neckline. I'm so often interrupting the crocheting to try it on because I'm so happy with how fast this stitch is building up. I'm wearing it over my white turtleneck because this is not the warmest cardigan I've made and it's getting really cold here. The turtleneck is a bit oversized, which is not ideal for the fitting, and I don't know what I think of the white under the grey. But I'm just really excited with the progress. I can't wait to try it out with plenty of my clothing to try and style it. I also like the bit of sweater peeping out at the sleeves. Time for a button break. The end is nearing, so the button choice is imminent. I received a lot of my buttons from friends or family members, so I don't know them all by heart, and I've separated them here by color, so now it's time to try them all out on the canvas. I started with a darker color, but I found that too harsh. The transparent ones feel too cheap and plasticky. I tried the smaller buttons too. I feel like they are already better, but still a bit too severe, not really cozy vibes. Then I tried these green ones, which I actually quite like. I like the softness, but maybe green isn't ideal on grey. Some other buttons were clearly too large. I tried white ones too, but they felt too childlike. However, seeing it back now, it could be cute. But knowing I will wear this on top of darker tops and sweaters, it wouldn't be the best match. I tried shiny black ones as a contrast, but still too harsh. These buttons were pretty for decoration, but too small for actual use. This was actually much harder than I thought. Eventually, my top choices are these wood type ones, but I only have two of them. These flatter pearl ones to see with what I would be wearing underneath, the green ones, and these rounder pearl ones. I'm not sold on any of them yet, so I will first keep on crocheting and I will see later on. But I do wonder, are you supposed to leave the button band without a button, or should you add a button there? Holding the buttons up wasn't really working, so my smart solution was just to go lie under them. To delay my decision even more, I already decided on the amount of buttons that I want to add. I counted the distances in between and placed some stitch markers for the buttonholes. Because I couldn't decide, I placed one right at the transition between the button band and the main body part. In every stitch with a stitch marker, I'm going to make one chain instead of a stitch, so I made them with one chain spaces. This makes them relatively small, but I tried it with the bigger button and you can easily go through, so it's better to make them a bit smaller than too large. It also results in the fact that when you pull on the button band a bit, you can barely see there is a hole there, making it look clean. So time now to add the neckline band. I eventually decided on these buttons. No, they were not a part of the previous options. I found another stash of buttons and these were just too perfect. Depending on the light, they look a bit shiny, but the color ranges from gray to white to green, brownish. I think they fit perfectly. And I found this gray thread that also matches perfectly with the yarn. You can barely see it. So it's time to start hand sewing these buttons on. This is the final result. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It looks gorgeous, very elegant, very work appropriate, but still very cute. I'm so happy with how the seams of the arms went in the back. You can also wear it closed and open the first one to get a little bit of a color, or you can open both buttons and then you get this very large, elegant collar. I also tried it on with a turtleneck under because that was kind of the point, so that I could wear it both ways. With one or with two buttons attached, I think it looks really cute. Of course, you can also wear it the same way as with the top underneath, but I just feel like this very large surface of dark color is a bit strange, but so yeah, this is it. Thank you for watching. Bye!